is Lily.
My name's Andy, and we are LAFryends.
Welcome to our new segment, Spill the Tea, in which we are going to spill the tea on a topic in 10 minutes or less. So, we both have our tea ready. I have my USC alumni mug, and
My Hawaii Starbucks mug. Shout out Starbucks.
so that's a hint into what we're going to talk about today. Your choice in the things that you have and wear is a big part about your identity. So since it's well into October, and Halloween's coming up, where we know it as, for kids, one of the days where they're able to dress up as anything they want. And as kids, we did a lot of trick-or-treating, or at least I hope I did. You did?
Sometimes. Did you?
I definitely did. I don't remember the costumes I wore, except there was a witch. I still have the witch hat somewhere.
No, we didn't dress up together. But I remember your witch costume, though.
That's weird.
I think there one year I was like a vampire, but that's it. And then,
Okay.
Other than, wait, where did you trick-or-treat?
I went to the malls.
Oh, okay, that's why. We were in the apartment, so like we didn't walk around the house. But there was military housing. Okay, anyway.
Yeah, so this is going to be a conversation into our identity, and kind of how Halloween is kind of one of the biggest holidays to celebrate, maybe not just what you want to be for a day, but also who you are really in everyday life. So, for me, a lot of that is in my culture and upbringing. I would say that's the same for you, Andy, I think, at least.
Yeah, I feel like, when we talk about something like identity and cultural identity, it's like difficult to grasp, I think, for a lot of people in our generation.
Definitely, yeah.
I think for so many Asian Americans who grew up in like America, like we identify as Asian American, but then oftentimes, depending on how much our families like want to keep us to holding to our like traditions of our like family, like some of us, a lot of my friends, or like even myself, like we aren't as, at least for me, I'm not as invested, or I don't know much of my own cultural tradition. So I think for me, it's finding my cultural identity is still something that I'm trying to look into. I think Lily, you might be able to speak something.
Yeah,
different.
I think for us it's similar enough that we are both first generation Asian Americans, I want to say. For me, it's more like 0.5, but that's a whole other thing to go into. But definitely trying to, and I think in this year in particular, probably due to some of the xenophobia and everything that happened with the COVID-19 crisis, we were able to get a deeper look into what it really means to be Asian American, and not all Asian Americans are the same. I think for us who may be a little bit more residing on probably the American side, a little bit more Western, but at the same time, because our parents are still very, very, very much traditional, it's somewhat hard to grasp where we stand. It's like a spectrum and a scale, and you slide back and forth. There's not a one place that you stay in.
Yeah.
For me, I think definitely as I spent, now that I'm 22 and I've spent more than half my life in the US, I think I find myself to be a lot more American these days. So, yeah, but at the same time, I know we still celebrate our cultures. We just did Mid-Autumn Festival together a couple weeks ago. It was interesting because even though we are both first gen, I had to educate Andy on the backstory of what the festival is about.
And that's exactly like what I was speaking to. Like for me, my family, like we always would eat mooncake, and it would like be around that time, and I would never know like the significance, and my parents never told the stories of like why this kind of like fable or tradition like occurred or happened. And then I learned it when I was like learning Mandarin back at university, but Lily just re-explained the story to me, and then it's a nice thing, like just to think about, because you essentially, that's how you connect with all of your family all around the world who are doing the same exact tradition as you.
Exactly. In case you don't know what we're talking about, I highly suggest you to Google the rabbit and lady tail on the Mid-Autumn Festival, as well as what the symbolism around mooncakes and anything round is for that occasion. So for me, it's always just very special. I almost call it, the Chinese Thanksgiving, because it is that big of a holiday.
Yeah.
But anyways, moving on, considering I'm running short on time, Another thing that is a big part of my identity is my day job. I work as an engineer and data analyst. So a lot of what I do is, to put it in layman terms, efficiency improvement, and then data integration, and information systems. So I really enjoy those things. I know there's kind of this almost like an opposite stigma, if you will, where you see a lot of Asian Americans who may be in this either lawyer, doctor, or engineer route, and you're like, wow, their parents probably pushed them to do this. I personally really hate that because for me, it was truly something I was interested in. My parents were very open-minded about what I wanted to pursue. It just so happened that it is one of the, I guess the stereotypes that I got into, but I still love it. I still, spend at least a third of my day doing it, and it's something that I truly think is worth my time on, and doesn't hurt to get paid for it. So.
And I think on the lines of jobs and that whole idea, I think I think I'm really lucky to have grown up in a family where my parents are really supportive of everything I do. I think along with Lily and how she's talking about those Asian stereotypes that many of you may be facing, maybe some of our younger viewers who are still in college trying to decide what they want to do after college. Like we just graduated, and we're working full time right now. So I work as a teacher, and in Asian American households, teaching is not, one of those high jobs that like even one pay well ever.
Yeah.
I mean, at least not in the U.S. And two, it's not really highly regarded as something valuable, especially in Asian culture. But I'm really lucky that my parents support me, and my entire family is really proud of what I can do, and that I'm doing something that I find a passion in and that I love. So I think what we're trying to say is, even though there are a lot of Asian stereotypes that might exist within your families, and just in society in general, find what you love to do and go for it, because now there's no better time to do it than now.
Yep. And one additional thing, I guess if you're trying to break it into a pie, this would be kind of the last piece of my pie in terms of my identity. The big piece, at least, would be my interests and passions and hobbies. So for me, a lot of that revolves around mentorship. I kind of, see this or spill the tea segment almost like a mentorship session too, because I'm sure, I'm hopeful at least that most of you will be able to relate to some of the content that we're putting out here. And also, so that's the first one is kind of mentorship and paying forward. The second one is around the creatives. So with music and photography, I've been doing a little bit more stepping away from freelancing and making it like a side hustle, but more just for my own enjoyment. It's been a great form of release, I think. I think I speak for both of us when I say that, because it's been a very stressful time lately. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think finding your interests and your hobbies and your passions, if you could make that your living, I think you'd be set in terms of just having your cup always full, right? And I think that's what helps us keep on going. Having something to rejuvenate us, to really just restart our batteries as we go back into the real world. So I think that's just that's a really big piece of I think our identity as well. And I think for us, the arts is something super, super important to us, just because it's really a big part of who we are today.
Yeah. I will echo that. About the rejuvenating and kind of gaining back your energy. I've been feeling very burnt out in the last couple weeks. Andy see me stressed. It's a crazy time to be, juggling so many different things. Another part that I like to do is honestly just being out in nature. I kind of took an afternoon off to do that yesterday. It's just nice to be by the ocean, considering we both grew up near the ocean, and now we live kind of close to the city. So, yeah.
So I guess that kind of will wrap up this segment, but we want to pose 3 questions to you. All right. So in the comments below, can you guys help us out? We want to hear from you. So question 1, how do you feel about your cultural identity? What do you identify as? And do you ever kind of have that internal struggle with yourself? 2, what are your hobbies and passions? What are you really interested and passionate about? What do you do on the side to really rejuvenate and replenish your battery? And 3, would be if you're not working in a professional field right now, and or if you are, what are you doing, and or what do you aspire to do? We would love to hear from you, and I know we'll definitely be willing to open up to this conversation some more.
Sounds good. Well, there is 10 minutes. So thank you so much for joining us. And we will see you on the next segment of Spill the Tea.
Bye.
Bye.